Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Good, thanks, Kyle.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time today. Really excited about this new release. It's been a fun listen. Sounds like it was fun to make as well.
It was.
Before we jump into that, credit where it's due, I want to say how often I put Cloud Maintenance on your solo record. Still a very big fan of that record. It gets a lot of play around here.
Oh, wow. Thanks very much.
I guess the place that you always have to start is here you've done this record with the Persuasions, and there's probably a backstory to why and how it happened, if I'm guessing, and I'd love for you to tell it.
It's a little bit of a long story, but I'll give you the Reader's Digest version if I can. Years ago, our soundman, B&L's longtime soundman, Robin Billington, gave me a gift, and it was an album by the Persuasions called Frankly A Cappella, and it was the Persuasions singing Frank Zappa. And I loved the record and became an admirer of the group. And me and the Persuasions have a friend in common in Lou Reed, because I was Lou's touring band leader from 2007 until he passed away. And years ago, in the 70s, Lou had taken the Persuasions out on tour with him as his opening act. And so when they had Lou's memorial celebration or service at the Apollo Theater, I was invited to play, and I played a couple songs. And the Persuasions also sang a song. They sang Turning Time Around by Lou, and that's where I met them in person for the time.
I mean, I guess you guys got to have the conversation then. I mean, at some point you decide, hey, let's do this record together. I mean, it's one thing to know a group, but what makes you go to that next level?
Well, I reached out to them afterwards. I've been working on a project for a charity involving a whole bunch of different singers, and I asked if they would be a part of it. And it just involved one, sort of half a minute of a longer musical piece that they contributed to. But their manager called and said, hey, they really enjoyed doing that. They'd love to do more with you. And so I said, well, I'm going to be in New York with my band, the Barenaked Ladies. We're going to be playing in Central Park in July. If the guys would like to come, and maybe they can join us for a couple songs. And so they arrived at Central Park, and it was a beautiful day, and backstage they just began singing. Before soundcheck, we were all singing together, and the crew was around listening, and it was just a great vibe, and we connected with them. And then the soundcheck was great, and then they stuck around and sang some more, and then we did the show, and it was fun. And after that, we said, we got to do more. So that's when the idea sort of came in my brain, like, this is something we should go into a studio and capture.
And at that point, you guys are talking about, I mean, you're not going to make original songs. I mean, where did the conversation come that you were going to tackle some of your old catalog?
Well, something we've been discussing for a long time, which I was excited about, was kind of getting back to the band's roots of singing just with acoustic instruments or stripped down, and doing a record that sort of looked back at our catalog and maybe did songs that even weren't recorded that way initially, but that still would work, say, around a campfire or something. So I had suggested to the guys, why don't we go to, someone's cottage and just set up in a nice environment and play together live off the floor. And then when the Persuasions sort of came into the picture, I thought, why don't we do this together, but with the Persuasions, and even expand that idea even more. So I was involved in a show at Massey Hall in October that was a fundraiser concert for children and parents, or children with special needs and parents of children with special needs. And I invited the Persuasions to be a part of it if they'd like to come to Toronto, and they were all about it. So they came up, and I said, that's our opportunity. After the concert, the next day we'll go in the studio, and the next day after that. And so that's how it happened. 2 days live off the floor.
That's crazy. I mean, it would seem like the preparation that would have to go into that on their side of things. It's not their songs, but to be able to pull that off in 2 days, I mean, that's sort of amazing. Was that like a completely hectic 2 days?
Well, we didn't go in unprepared. I mean, we of course knew our song pretty well, but I had sent Dave Revels, who's the current lead singer and arranger of the Persuasions, a whole bunch of songs. I sent him 30 songs, and he sort of looked at them, and we whittled that list down to what's on the record. But he actually rehearsed all those songs with the guys a cappella and he would send me voice memos of their rehearsals, which were very exciting to get and a joy to hear. So when they came into the studio with us, they were prepared, and so we'd basically say, we're going to do this song, and we'd sort of talk about it a bit, and then we'd do it once or twice, and that was it.
That was it. Wow. And I know, I mean, a lot of artists, especially artists that have been around for as long as you guys have that constant desire to tinker with your catalog. I mean, I think every musician would love to go back to their earlier stuff to try to rearrange that. So to have that opportunity to do something like that, I'm sure is very exciting. And for you, I mean, you know, being, like you said, Lou Reed's band leader, and having a lot of history with arranging, were there any songs that was like that you were able to go and really reclaim or redo more so than you even expected?
Well, I saw one opportunity. You mentioned that you liked the record Cloud Maintenance. I thought the song "Don't Shuffle Me Back to the Bottom of the Deck" is not it's never been done by Barenaked Ladies, but I thought this has got to be done with the Persuasions and the Ladies, and I know the guys like that song, so that was one thing I was quite excited about, bringing that song into the fold. Jim Cregan has a song called "Narrow Streets," and it wasn't on my initial list that I sent, but Jim said, I'd really like to do that song. And some of us from the Persuasions and BNL were like, well, we don't really see that as working. And then Jim said, no, think of it like in a doo-wop style. And then Dave tried it with the Persuasions and said, wow, we really like this. This is one of our favorites now. And so that was a song that got reinvented, and it leads off the record. We all loved it so much.
Was there a conscious effort to sort of stay away from doing just the hits package?
Oh, absolutely. We never thought of it as a hits package. It was more about songs that worked in that context.
I mean, obviously, you guys had some a cappella moments on those early years, and you know, I guess there wouldn't have been a lot of use to have redone something like "Hello City," you know, or something like that if it's already there. So,
well, you know what? That was on my initial list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I fell right into that one.
Yeah, it's one that you know, for whatever reason, it didn't make it.
So where does this lead from now? I mean, with this only having to take 2 days of actual recording, you know, and it's been now, 2 years since the last record, did this get in the way of working on a new record, or is that still something you guys are planning on as well?
No, we actually recorded a new record over the last couple months. It's just been mixed, and it's a interesting record, and it's going to come out in the fall.
Yeah? Can you elaborate on interesting?
I find it more musically adventurous. It doesn't sound like any other record we've done, and we're all sort of scratching our heads, going, "Wow, look what we've done here!" It's definitely takes a different step for us, and I'm excited about it.
Well, I'm sure having this nice little reset with all of these songs, may have led to that as well. If I would guess, just being able to clean the slate and then start over.
That's a very good point. I think there's some truth to that.
Yeah,
you're a smart man.
Well, you're an amazing artist, and I thank you again for taking the time today. I'm enjoying this release, and I'm really looking forward to hearing that interesting record that's on the way.
Cool. Well, hopefully we'll talk again.
All right, Kevin. Take care.
You too, man. Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye.